Yeah. Shocker. Shocker at noon today. Noah Lyles, favorite coming off the gold medal run that he had in the 100-meter, ran in the 200 and didn't look right. Out of the gate, he did not look right. He finished a disappointing third. There was no explosiveness. Part of me says that the wear and tear factor to run two qualifiers and then run the 100-meter, he ran three times to get the gold, to run two qualifiers, and he didn't run dominant in the qualifiers in the 200 and to run. So he ran six events in essence. And I thought he was gassed, and he just did not look right, and he went down and was down for 30 seconds afterward. Then I found out that he has asthma.
Oh.
And I thought to myself, that's a problem. Maybe this wear and tear caught up to him, and it's an asthmatic situation, hot and humid Paris had something to do with it. And within the last half hour, the bulletin, he tested positive for COVID on Tuesday. And he trained, he did the protocols, and they approved him to run. Maybe there was a negative test before the race, but he was allowed to run. He came to the press conferences delayed, wearing a mask with a doctor, and the doctor explained the whole protocols, but he was not 100%. And that's too bad because he could have been the guy that could have doubled and won the 100 and 200 for the first time since 1984 when Carl Lewis did it back then. The 200 medal was won by a sprinter from Botswana who was powerful. And then Kenny Bednarek, Lyle's teammate, big, tall, rangy, much bigger than Lyle, he finished with a personal best. He got the second medal, the silver, and Noah Lyle wound up the third. No determination whether Lyle, who's now got a gold and a bronze, whether Lyle is going to run on the relay on Friday. But knowing him, I would assume he'd try to go if he continues to test negative for COVID. But he was asthmatic. That story came out within a half hour after the race, and I thought, there's the explanation, the wear and tear factor. And then we found out just before starting the podcast, he had COVID. Other names, Kenny Rooks, distance runner, Brigham Young University. What a phenomenal performance by this guy. I just want to be able to read my notes here. He wins a steeplechase. Steeplechases, laps, jumping into water, over hurdles. I mean, it's a gruesome race. Won the steeplechase. He passed three guys on the final lap after they had done the final hurdle into the water. Somehow he found the strength and reserve to win the gold in a really rugged race. Quincy Hall, sprinter. Quincy Hall gets the gold in the 400 meter. John, he came from fifth place. It was like somebody shot him out of a rocket coming out of the final turn. And he made that turn and he blew by everybody else. He went 5-1 and won it at the stretch. Cole Hocker, this guy came out of nowhere. He gets a gold in the 200 meter. I'm sorry, Cole Hocker. He gets a gold in the 1500. He sprinted at the end against the top 1500 guy from Norway and England's top guy, and he beat them both. And he is small and he is slight, and he beat these two guys that are huge with long strides. I mean, what he accomplished was absolutely amazing. And then it was Gabby Thomas. I've seen some explosive performances, but man, at 200 meters, she was phenomenal in getting the Olympic gold. And of course, Sophie Smith has become a legitimate goal scorer for Team USA's women's soccer team. They're going to play Brazil in the finals. That is going to be a match worth watching. And strange event in the 5,000 meter men's race. I don't know if you've heard this or seen this. In the first heat of the semifinals, there's a mass of guys running. One guy elbows another guy. He falls down. Four guys fall over him. And the race is all screwed up because one guy flipped an elbow because of the traffic as they closed down inside. In the second race, the second qualifier for the 5,000, pack racing till they spread out. Pack racing, turn the corner, and they look up. There's a cameraman who wandered out onto the track.
What?
And these runners had to do this to avoid running over this photographer who wasn't paying attention to what event was being run, and he just stepped out onto the track.
Yeah.
Luckily, nobody hit him. Luckily, nobody went down, but it's weird to see the video of this massive group of runners in this 5,000 heat going, boom, and there's this photographer standing there. Take his credential away, please. So track and field is what's highlighting the end of the week. So quite a story on Noah Lyles. We'll see if he can run in the final relay. But our distance guys have just rocketed Team USA. U.S. has more golds than anybody. U.S. leads the total medal chase. And most everybody went into these Olympics in Paris thinking it would be China or it would be Japan. And yet Team USA, based on the strength of its distance runners, right now they lead the medal race with 2 days to go.
Team America. Here we go. Yeah. It's all good. I would love to go to the Olympics or even to the NCAA championships in Eugene, because I would imagine if you're at that event and you are standing in the presence of these sprinters, you would realize how really fast they are. Because on TV, I don't know if you really get a good sense for it, do you?
No, I think when you see the long shot, like if it's 100 meters, and you can see the power, and then you can see like there's an extra gear, you say, wow, these people are really special athletes. But if you're there and you observe it, maybe it's a different level. On TV, you get a much better view of it because the camera angles are higher and you get a much clearer view of the whole field as they go down the track. It's really neat. I went to the 1984 Olympics at the LA Coliseum, and I got to see the distance runners, and I got to see Carl Lewis, and I got to see, I think the great English runner of that time was Daley Thompson, who medaled. And to see those guys run is just, wow, what a thrill. And the Coliseum was filled. It was just an electric venue. But appreciate these talents. There's some great people. Feel really bad for Lyles. There's a lot of people out there that I don't think Lyles because he's so yappy. But I think the persona is really good for the sport. And I just sensed right from out of the blocks, he's not right. And I thought it was fatigue. And then we found out that he's an asthmatic. I said, well, maybe that couples into the equation, and then a positive COVID test on top of it. Wow.
Yeah, well, if it's COVID, I mean, that just zaps your energy. So amazing. He even finished third.
Yeah.
But it's interesting, the story about the photographer. There's been a lot of memorable things that we've seen in the Olympics for runners. Remember Zola Budd?
Sure.
And was it Mary Decker Slaney was the rival? And then Zola Budd ran barefoot, and then they had the collision and she fell. And it was Mary Decker that fell, right? And Zola Budd kept running, I think.
Good question.
Was that 1984? It might have been.
No, I think that was later. But anyhow. Yeah, there've been a lot of strange things. And, like the Olympic marathon, which is just a monstrous, was it 26 miles or
26.2?
Yeah. And to see when they get to the final lap and they're running into the stadium for the final lap, and these guys are staggering. And one guy falls down and his teammate picks him up.
Yeah.
And they kind of stagger to the line.
Nice.
I think there was a marathoner from maybe Ethiopia. He fell down. His father came off the sideline and picked him up and walked him across the finish line. So it's some really cool end result things.
You were a distance runner back in the day, right?
Broken down distance runner.
What was your event?
Miler.
Ah.
I was a small guy, though.
Mm-hmm.
I was pretty good in high school. I had power and I had durability, but I was slight. I ran an indoor meet, the high school version of the Milrose Games. In New York City, and I got my ass kicked. And those guys, I mean, I was so intimidated because there was so much talent, and all these kids that wound up being Olympians were running in the Milrose Games, and to be on the track and to see some of these guys was just absolutely amazing. And to see Jim Ryan, who at that time was our greatest American miler, and again, he was 6'4", long strider, big difference versus some dude from Long Island that's 5'8". So I enjoyed it. Couldn't get healthy, couldn't stay healthy. Just the way life is. Sports medicine was different than what it is now.
But you were out there competing. You were in the arena.
I was getting my ass kicked. Yes, I was. Thank you. Okay. Hey, this podcast